In fact, a minute ago you said that I was helping you out at the beginning, or 2009, 2010. I think I refereed your first weightlifting meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the judges. I think I worked all day. I think you fed me, and that was about it. But you know, that's just what we did back in the day, and I was happy to do so at your very, very first location.
Yeah, that was first MI Classic. It was 2 sessions. A session of, actually, I think it was a session and a half of men, and then the other half was just women. No singlets. Probably all in pounds, I would imagine.
Yeah, partially outside.
That was pre-Mattie Rogers. You won't catch Danny doing that anymore. Post-Mattie Rogers.
That's it.
No more refereeing.
I do nothing.
If Danny had to referee, he would referee.
Yeah, I would.
If someone asked him,
I absolutely would. I
just for sure would.
I'm a lifer.
Your training, your athletic career?
Yeah, appreciate that. I was actually 12 years old. I was a Pop Warner football player. I played almost every sport. I even dabbled in some gymnastics.
This was in Miami or in Orlando?
My beginning weightlifting was in Orlando. I already moved, so I was in middle school then. You know, my childhood was spent here in Miami. My family moved to Orlando right around I was 11. I just turned 12, and getting settled into Central Florida. You know, I was a middle schooler, and I played football, and I love the sport. Still love football. I'm a huge fan of the sport. And I was good on the field. I understood the game, but I would get my ass trampled. You know, I would just get stomped. And so my brother, he was older. He was in high school and a starting linebacker. He was much bigger than me. He says, "You got to get in the weight room and start lifting with us." So I did. Very, very first day, I walk into the high school, having left the middle school for the day. I walk in. He's there. There's a lot of peer coaching, right? The football coaches were present, they were around, but they weren't really engaging much with the weightlifting that was going on. And the weightlifting I got introduced to was the bench, the curl, you know, the machines, the things that, you know, you work on that you don't, you know, uneducated. I didn't know the first thing about lifting. How the barbell felt heavy alone in the bench. But my very first day, I got approached by one of the school teachers who came up to me, gave me a hard time because he knew I wasn't a student there, busted my chops. Says, "Why are you here?" My brother still cuffs. Says, "Hey, it's my little brother. I'm trying to get him into weightlifting." Again, not the Olympic sport of, just weight training, right? Real simple stuff. And that very first day, the coach left me alone for a little bit, came back to me, and just recruited me. He says, "What do you know about Olympic lifting?" I said, "Olympic what?" And he says, "This, the clean and jerk." He shows me somebody doing the clean and jerk. Never seen it before. And he says, "It'll make you strong for football." So I go, "All right, let me try." Very first day, gives me on the spot a one-on-one private in the snatch movement, and I fell in love, dude. You know, you just got hooked. The same thing people say to me now, and they say, "Coach, I love weightlifting. I love the way I stopped doing this sport just to do weightlifting full time or whatever it might be." And I say, I know exactly what that feels like. I never forgot that. I quit every sport that day. Coach turns to me and he says, "Come back tomorrow." Classes I teach. How many people here? I ask. Wish you would have started when you were younger. Everybody
raised their hand.
They better. Everyone raised their hand. No, well, I did.
Even people who started young wish they started
younger. Yeah, even younger. 9. I wish I started at 9. Yeah. You know, but I say that because number one, most could have, right? Most could have started, but they avoided it. Maybe it just wasn't as popular. Maybe they weren't exposed to it, or the right way. But the other part is, they may not have had the opportunity. Right. The exposure. No one in their area did it. Perhaps. I was completely lucky that not only did I find a guy who liked weightlifting and was coaching Olympic weightlifting, but he was an international coach, a Team USA coach. So he recruited me just based on my size, the way I moved around, and that's it, man. That was it. I'm here today. You have 200 kilos on there. And it was like
70.
80, yeah, if that. Really, it wasn't until I made it to the Olympic Training Center as a full-time resident that I benefited from like high-end barbells and more professional setting, which just catapulted my career to a whole nother level, which, that's the purpose back then, and now that residency program is closed,
So what did your training look like in your formative years? Was it very simple, snatch, clean and jerk, squat, pull?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, exposed to a lot of positions.
No special exercises,
not really.
Not a lot of assistance work?
No, my coach, my first coach, my developmental coach, his name was Bill McDaniel. He went by Coach Mac. That was his nickname. Coach Mac would, he was raw. He was old school. He had zero science behind what he did, And it's funny, I remember asking him to get educated, "Coach, why do we do 5 sets of 5, or whatever you give me, What's the rationale behind half this stuff?" He says, "I don't know. I just know that it works. Shut up and do it."
Yeah.
And I did.
What he always did.
This is what he always did.
And which is fine,
what
too.
everyone did.
And it works. He just couldn't tell you the why.
He was always a coach in Florida, so how was Florida weightlifting at that point? Like, where would you do meets? Where, you know, things like that. Like,
Yeah, so it's hard to say. Okay, the answer is it was big. Yet, there was only like 5 local meets a year. So that doesn't sound big.
And when you say
now.
local, you don't really necessarily mean Orlando, right?
No, I meant the state of.
Yeah.
All.
Because now
Florida.
local meet, you throw a fucking rock, you can hit 10 local meets on any
on the
given
same
weekend.
On the same weekend, yeah. You know, which is good and bad, right? So, but back
More
then,
bad.
right, yeah, more bad.
That's pretty annoying.
Yeah, Florida has always been a big weightlifting state.
Yeah. Team Florida at the time used to win nationals pretty consistently, right?
Yeah, because back then,
Was that his
Florida,
club? No.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was the
okay.
president not only of the LWC, or the federation, it was called LWC back then. I mean, it still is, but it was more known for that in LWC, and the head coach of Team Florida. Back then, and I'm talking 1991, right? The Team Florida was a club, and it was just understood that when you became a lifter in the state of Florida anywhere, you're just attached to this club. It was like a state club. And there was different gyms all representing it with different head coaches, and we all come together representing the state.
Is that kind of like an East Coast Gold
Yeah.
type of concept?
The format is the same. In fact, the term satellite came from them, and to this day,
It didn't come
My
from
club.
NASA?
no, it didn't come
That's so
from space.
crazy. Weightlifters invented satellites, guys. It's fucking... mine is blown.
that's what I always thought.
No. So the term, that's how I use it now, for the term satellite for my own club. That's where I got it from, and it's almost like paying homage. So now I have, you know, I'm blessed to have my program in different gyms, you know, around the state, and have athletes around the country, and they represent my club, and so I refer to them as satellites, and that's came from the Team Florida. That's where I stole it
As
from.
far as weightlifting, is not the same as the rest of Florida. Even now,
Right.
The
Yeah.
weightlifting is not a high school sport in South Florida. It's Central Florida, North Florida, but down here it's all
Football.
Yeah.
And baseball a little
Yeah.
bit, but mostly football.
But the strength coaches do not want to let their athletes learn to snatch
Yeah.
and clean and jerk.
we,
They're going to do really bad hang power cleans as heavy
Yep.
as possible.
And
with
lots of
bench
bad
straps.
deadlifts, lots of bench.
That's it.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, they're going to do bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
Is like their go-to program. It's just a very easy template. They copy the same model of like at a strength coach would. They laminate them and they put them on the squat racks, and you just rotate in circuits, and that's what the kids
Yeah.
follow. We've tried pretty aggressively in 3 different high school programs, and we've gotten far. But at the end of the day, when the head football coach sees how much time we have to take teaching something like the snatch or teaching good
just
cleans,
half
they're
the
like, you know what, more bang for your buck. I want these kids more sport-specific time on the field. Let's just have them bench because they can get in and get out quick.
Yep.
You know,
So it was always big in the state of Florida, but South Florida was like...
South Florida's always.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone knows. In many ways,
Yeah.
not just in high school sports. South Florida is a different continent.
It is.
You know?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And it's funny because when I got into CrossFit and I started seeing the demand of the barbell increasing, I knew that there were coaches in Central Florida, other than just myself, at high levels. Right. There's 2 others, and then in the Gulf Coast, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Panhandle, there were some advanced elite weightlifting coaches in that area. Sarasota, right? None in South Florida.
0.
And so, you know, a lot of my relationships grew here because of that, like you guys. So, and you know, you guys are like the dominant weightlifting club down here, so you brought a ton of exposure to the sport here in South Florida. So you're not the only ones doing meets down here anymore, man.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
They're
Tell me
everywhere
about
now.
it,
So you mentioned CrossFit. How was that transition? After you retired from lifting, did you coach for a while, or did you like immediately jump aboard the CrossFit train?
No, I retired in '98 and got into
Very early too, right?
Early, I mean, you know, biologically, yeah. I mean, I could have lasted, but I just didn't feel. I was burnt out. That's it. I mean, people ask me, why did you retire? And I said, I just woke up every morning pissed off at the barbell.
I don't mean to interrupt Lewis's question, but I'm very curious as to why you feel like you were so burnt out. Was it the volume of training? Was it your mental state? Did you not recover well enough? Were you overreached, you know, consistently? What do you attribute that to, and what could you have done differently?
The short answer is yes to all of those, but that was the effect. The cause, the number one reason that leading to all of that, I was mentally burnt out, physically burnt out, really wasn't the overtraining. I was able to handle the beating that they were giving me at that level. It was lack of time off when I needed it, whether it was in the week or in all my macro cycles that they would give me. In a year's time, I just never got a vacation. And I remember asking for one at that level, right? I mean, it was a scholarship program. You're training full time. It was my full-time job, and there's a long list of guys hoping to get in. Back then, the OTC was a centralized system, and the best lifters were there because there weren't that many other options around the country. That's changed now. Now it's pretty decentralized. Like
Well, there is no more.
There is no more program of that. I think that was the result.
Yeah.
Of the fact that the last 5-6 years, more clubs have opened up, more coaching, more athletes. Now athletes have more options. You don't have to go to the OTC to be an elite athlete. You can do so at home. And that started taking away from ultimately that program. But back then it was the Mecca. And so, it was really rigorous. And so I said, listen, I know my body. If you just, can I take a day off? Can I go home for a few weeks? Can I just take it? But I couldn't. And they wouldn't allow it. It was so strict like that. It was, should I get off the pot? Well, ultimately, I just said, I gotta go. I gotta go. It was a breath of fresh air when I left and I retired. Because now I didn't have to care about what I ate. I didn't have to make weight. I didn't have to get up every single morning, go in, squat 5 days a week. You know what I mean? It was freedom. It was weight lifted off my shoulders, pun intended. And it was the best decision. I don't regret it. And I don't regret it because I got started coaching almost right away, which is your question. So it was a lack of recovery, man. Now I'm so sensitive to my athletes, especially my advanced ones. We come back from a major tournament. I don't want to see them for a week.
Right.
A week at their level really has zero effect. In fact, it helps. Right. So I try to avoid the mental and emotional burnout because that's how I ended my career. So what I could have done different is beg for it more, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. Or just get that badass that I was going to call the shots. And
how do you get that badass?
Are we talking cleanly?
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. That's actually one of the questions I want to ask you.
Being badass, what were your accomplishment wise? Where did you get as an athlete? I know you got tired.
Yeah.
But aside from that, what accomplished? What level did you reach as an athlete?
Yeah. So I was a U.S. athlete, meaning I competed at both international, but both minor international meets and major. So majors are considered the championships. They were more like invitationals back then. So I did some international friendlies, right?
That's like when we have the Grand Prix and the
correct.
President's Cup and the Asia Invitational, shit like that.
All that, which are cool, man.
Yeah.
They're great,
That's where the judges wear the suits.
I like judges wear suits
At
everywhere.
all the national meetings.
No, the way they wear
Even nationals.
At least the coats. Right?
I like those.
Yeah.
It's fancy, it's
Do it for
big
local
shit
meet.
going on.
Just do it for a local meeting.
We should
Not
require a suit. I don't think Diego would wear a suit. Diego, Andres Aleman, and Liz Bland, all with bad attitudes, wearing.
That'd be great.
Wearing a suit.
Danny in the tuxedo with a top hat.
Oh, you gotta do it.
No, we can leave that to Leo Hernandez, bro.
Well, look, I was blessed with a good career. So the championships, like the World Championships, both the senior and the junior worlds, I competed in both. Junior Pan Ams, senior Pan Ams, I competed in those as well. Never made the Olympic team. That was the goal. I just
You're old.
Yeah.
So that would have been like Atlanta?
Would have been 96 in Atlanta. When they took a top 10. Counted top 10, top 8 would compete. So back then, qualifying for the Olympics was different. Every country that went took 8 athletes.
How many
men only?
How many sessions were there?
I don't know.
Were there like C sessions?
No, B's, A and B's only. But we're talking when women were not
Oh, right.
in there.
Right.
It was a male Olympic sport only. When the inclusion of the females, now they have changed.
That was the Olympics after.
2000.
Yeah.
Sydney.
So 2 Olympics after.
No, 96.
Oh,
96 to 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 96 was the last one in the format. 2000. Now, IWF, the IOC says, all right, now you double the amount of athletes. It's going to last too long. You need to cut and They have to limit the amount of
And
participants.
that's when the big weight class changes.
That's when the big weight class changes. That's when now qualifying, now United States is qualifying not the 10, but you're qualifying 2 or 1. I mean, how many girls do we have in Rio? 3?
3.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
2 and an alternate. Or no, 3 and an alternate, right?
No, we had 3 and then the alternate. And then Kendrick again, the 1 male.
Yeah.
So, that's like the most we've had in a few because of the change in 2000. And so in inclusion with the females, they had to limit, so they had to change things around. Now, man, it's just harder for countries to qualify spots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are my accomplishments. I mean, I was really proud of the lifts I did and the medals I've won. Didn't win any international, medals, but, top 10, top 7 was the best I ever did at a Junior Worlds. So, super proud of those. I'm able to bring that to my athletes now. So.
Cool. So you come back after retiring and almost instantly you start coaching weightlifting, right? At that same high school?
At different high school because my coach had switched schools during my career when I was away. So now I'm going back to him, and he landed in a different gym. That's
still in Orlando.
Still in Orlando. It was in the same county, same district. Actually, it was a competing high school. Especially for football. So a lot of my buddies are like, "You're coaching at this school now? You're a trader?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm following the barbell." And so I started coaching there. And it's funny because the very first day I really got into coaching, it was with a group. I started with large groups, and that was how I learned how to coach. In fact, later on, I got into CrossFit. I started doing private lessons. I didn't know what the hell to do. It was kind of difficult doing with one person because between attempts, between sets, like, what are you talking about? Yeah. What do you do? So it was kind of funny in that regard. People ask, "Coach, how do you recruit such young people?" And I didn't really have to. They were already there for me. So I'm kind of a tough person to ask the best way to recruit. My biggest advice I would give coaches is do the work and produce. You produce athletes. That's all the advertising
you make athletes, though. The rest of them will come. Yeah.
That is how you recruit.
People want to train with the best.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, from our experience, I think something that helps also right now is like the whole masters weightlifting level and game has transformed. Huge. Masters athletes have kids.
Yep.
So you want to develop a youth and junior club, a really strong way. Like the key to that is their parents, which can be masters athletes, especially for CrossFit. First time you saw a CrossFit workout.
Oh God.
What was your first thought? No, not the first time you tried CrossFit.
Oh, that's a good story.
First time you stumbled upon .com or you ended up, I remember the Gym Evolution or whoever you spoke to. First time you were introduced to CrossFit, what was your first thought?
Cool shit.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to be one of the very few OG weightlifting coaches that took that attitude.
I am, and I caught a lot of hell for it.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, a lot of old timers at that time who are now believers.
Yeah,
right?
You have to be now.
You have to be now. I think you're gonna be left. You're gonna be forgotten. Otherwise, I was one of the few that fell in love for the beginning. One, the challenge of it, but two, I'll be honest. The reason that I fell in love with the CrossFit community, from the get, is because it reminded me of the weightlifting community.
Yeah.
Because it was just all about helping community. It was all about community. And I said, wow, there's something else that's just like weightlifting. The other reason is they were calling me. And I said, hell yeah, I'll do this. If you want to learn about the barbell. Very first time I met a group of CrossFitters that called me and said, hey, can you come teach us clinic on the lifts? We want to get better at them. I'm like, yeah, sure. I showed up. Spent 3 hours on a Saturday, did what I did, helped them out, they loved it. I go to walk out and they go, "Coach, we got to pay you." I go, "For what?" And they said, "For the lesson." And I go, No, I can't take your money. I legit walked into it's just what you did, you just helped each other out like that. I said, "We're just sharing information." And they go, "No." Wrote a check, I looked at it and I said, "Can I come back?" And they said, "Yeah, how about next week?" I started coaching classes, man. That's how I got it. And then I realized I didn't know anything, right? And I mean that by, sure, with the barbell, but man, I grew up in a sport doing 1s and 2s. So, 30 reps in the snatch, that's blasphemy. So many people thought, right? Until I tried it, until I did it. And once an athlete, always an athlete. So when you struggle, what do you say? I'm gonna do this again, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna win the next time. But I didn't know the first thing about understanding metabolic conditioning. I mean, in weightlifting we did some GPP, but you know what GPP was? More reps. Yeah, maybe sprints,
Yeah.
If that, right? It was really a whole, it was such a small, minute part.
Higher volume squats.
Yeah. More snatches.
Yeah, eights.
Yeah.
More pulls.
Yeah, so, to write a Metcon was very challenging for me.
Yeah.
So I learned it, and it not only expanded my coaching career by giving me a bigger audience, but I became a dual sport coach. I started coaching CrossFit events, helping people try to get to regionals or the games, and things like that.
Trying to beat us at Wadapalooza, not succeeding.
Not even close.
Not succeeding.
Not with my one team in year 7. No. Until I see you at Junior Nationals.
Yeah. So that's the difference. We show up at Junior Nationals and Danny's like got 45 sea of blue little young minions running all over the place. Lewis and I have like 3 kids with a bad attitude and pink hair.
You're now in my world.
Yeah, but Danny shows up at Wadapalooza and it's a different story.
It's a different story. I actually try to avoid you. But Lewis and I talk about this weekend, man. It's really cool because in the sport of weightlifting, I go to these meets. I'm blessed with a good group of athletes, but I'm only one guy, right? So you assign your coaches to be primary. Though I, as a head coach, I'm overseeing it all. I'm involved with everyone, every session. But to be effective, you got to have your assistant coaches, be primaries for other athletes. And I have a system. It's usually on a sheet, and I try to be as organized as possible. I saw you guys do that at Wadapalooza.
Yep.
And I thought that was so. I remember complimenting you guys. Now your coaches running around crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I saw the paper. I think Anthony was there, and I said, "Hey, let me see that sheet. These are our assignments." I go, "Man, that's so cool that you guys do that too." There's. I mean, you can use that tactic, right? I'm sure your clients and your athletes must love that they have someone there to support them.
Yeah.
Even the warm-ups. I mean, these CrossFit events, how much time you go there and the athletes are alone the whole
By
time.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that was so cool and so organized, and it looked like you had a shitload of people.
I mean, we've taken a page from your system. I've seen you at Junior Nationals or Americans with like really large squads and your assistant coaches, and you're very well organized. Daniel have a binder with, I mean, now hopefully you're using a computer and not running around with a binder computer. But we've taken a page from that, and that's the same thing that we do at our large events. We'll assign coaches, and we'll have warm-ups written down, time for check-ins, coaches handling athletes, walking them over to their check-in. We have to show up at briefings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The whole weightlifting experience we have completely copied and pasted over into CrossFit for us, and it's worked tremendously.
Your athletes must love that. They must love you guys.
I mean, what helped, in the sport of CrossFit, the fittest, I hate to say, does not always win. People who minimize mistakes and are fit win. Yeah. And in order to minimize mistakes, you have to be handled. Yeah. The athlete should take care of the fitness, but the coach's job, just on competition days, to make sure the athlete is prepared and is confident and is minimizing mistakes. Just dumb shit like not having to chalk up before something like wall ball shot.
Yeah.
Like your athlete needs to know that. It's the coach's job to make sure that they've practiced their events and whatever. That's like
efficiency.
Yeah, that's something USAW does really well. They really promote educating their coaches and getting their coaches, and not just in like being better programmers, but everything else. Like you talk about in level 2. Where do you show up? What do you check for at a meet? What are the times for everything? You don't really see that in CrossFit. So they're not really promoting people to be better coaches in those competition settings. They don't allow for that handling and things like that, which is kind of a shame.
Well, we've talked about the identity of CrossFit, and I feel like they struggle sometimes because, like, on one end, look, the education component of CrossFit, they want to educate trainers to be good GPP, fitness, fit for life style coaches, which is honestly what they should do, because it's a GPP program. Yeah. Then on the complete opposite spectrum, still called CrossFit, you have competitive CrossFit. Yeah. CrossFit's identity kind of gets lost between the two, and the person on the outside sometimes doesn't really know what is CrossFit. CrossFit Games is not CrossFit. Yeah. Coaching Matt Frazier is not CrossFit. CrossFit is like the 99% in your gym. Yeah. And that's where they put more of the emphasis. Then I think you have coaches like us and programs like us who do both, but you'll have guys like your Ben Bergerons and your Max El-Haj and training think tanks, et cetera, who focus more on that development. It's not sanctioned by HQ, but I think that's where you can get to learn more of that development.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, for those of you guys who don't really know, I feel like you'll find a lot of weightlifting coaches be like, yeah, I support the CrossFits, and they swing the kettlebells and 30 squat snatches, whatever. But in reality, Danny actually is an avid CrossFitter. Like, he's all in, 100%.
CrossFits weekly.
I actually do more Metcons than lift.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I just told everybody.
So it's not like one of these things where it's like, yeah, I support that thing that pays my bills. Like, the dude owned an affiliate, really believes in it, coaches teams at large events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I consider myself a dual sport athlete, coach now. Definitely not athlete. I don't compete. I'll take that back. But and it's it's tough. But one has complements the other, as we just described. But people know me more for the barbell, and that's okay because my life has been around the barbell.
Right.
It is my primary thing.
So after you were introduced to CrossFit, a few years later, you opened your first actual gym, right? You didn't have a garage gym or barbell club or anything like that prior to that?
I did
just
not,
in the high school?
I did not take the level 1 CrossFit cert and open up, right? I didn't do that. I wasn't that guy.
Good for you. There's a lot of that guy.
Well, I knew what I didn't know, and I didn't want to open. I had aspirations almost immediately, right? And it wasn't so I can make money, because I never did make money. It was just because I enjoyed it, man. It made me happy, and I thought that I could.
You were also a cop. You had a real job.
that was my primary profession. When I retired, you're not going to make money from lifting. So what I did was I got into law enforcement. It was my other interests, and I made it 13 years. And the entire time I was coaching at the high school, like you just asked, as a hobby on the side thing. Only a couple hours a week, a couple hours a day, tops, until CrossFit. And now this coaching thing starts growing into a second profession. 2 years of just coaching at the high school and learning CrossFit, I started applying a lot of what I learned, asking questions. I did take the level 1 and waited and used that information and started applying my athletes. I started gaining more outside the high school interest in people using the high school facility on my time, which became a bit of a conflict for the high school, and I get why. It grew to the point where I said, listen, I'm going to have to open a private studio to keep it going. And as soon as I did, it grew even faster. I couldn't control the rate at it. It was moving. And
weightlifters or CrossFitters or both?
Both, but at that time, majority CrossFit clients, CrossFit competitors, right?
This was in Altamont.
This was in Altamont Springs, just north of Orlando. The school's Lake Brantley High School. And when I opened up, it was booming, and I already had coaches under me. They started coaching CrossFit classes. They too learned like I did. And so it was a whole lot of learning going on there at the same time. I opened my CrossFit affiliate in 2009, and I was the 4th affiliate in Central Florida.
Wow.
It's like 60-something now.
Yeah.
Right? But I was the 4th one to open up. And back then, the community was still so much more like weightlifting. So these gyms were very welcoming. And hey, you're opening up. I had the other 3 show up to my grand opening, which was cool back then. It's maybe not the same now. And it got to the point where I was burning the candle at both ends. After 3 years of balancing both at hours and hours, I had to pick one. I took a leap of faith, and it took half a pension, and here I am. So then it grew even faster because I started filling up my extra time with more coaching. To be honest with you, it was just the demand. The demand dictated what I did next. My clients dictated. Though I own the gym, I'm the head coach, I'm the owner, I have a boss. It's my clientele. So that's the same thing with my members. Now, I had a fairly large CrossFit gym with weightlifting on the side. Weightlifting was 10%, 15%, because the interest still wasn't there, though it was growing. Then it hit a boom about 2 years ago. And as we speak, I sold my affiliate after about 8 years of having it. And I'm just a weightlifting center, and I do, offer functional fitness now, and I'm still involved with that, just not through the affiliation. And the reverse is true now. Now, it's a weightlifting center, and it's about 15% CrossFit. Right. So,
do you have fitness classes?
We're not running active classes, like we used to.
I shouldn't use air quotes if we're on a fucking podcast, huh?
Can't see those.
No, I don't run classes like I used to, but I'm going to start that once again. So the transition I just described is relatively lock-in. I coach all day long. I go home, I die. I've been waiting for that for 20-something years.
How much administrative responsibilities do you have?
I gave up so much of that because I just want to coach, man. I sold my affiliate, not because I didn't like CrossFit anymore. I'm still in love with it. I'm still actively involved, like you said. I gave it up because I didn't want to own a gym. I didn't want to be a gym owner, man. I don't care about the admin about that. It's not what gets me up out of bed every day. It's the athletes. So I had to give up some of that. So I oversee all the admin. I'm a bit of a control freak in that nature, so it goes through me. But I don't actively do a whole lot of it any longer. You know, from the membership, the growth, and the, balancing the books and all that, and the rent and the landlord. I just walk in. I coach every single day.
Good for you. So how many hours a day do you coach now?
It's 7 on the floor, but then there's remote. It's
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah, we
no
talked
shit.
about this before. It's, on the floor is one thing, but it never stops.
No. Listen, I fought remote coaching. You guys do that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I refer to that too as satellite coaching, right? I fought it. I fought it for years. Coach, you could be making a lot of money doing it. I go, but that's not real coaching. I fight it. I didn't like the way it felt. I felt like I was cheaping people and I'm charging them, and I felt like a scumbag because I'm not helping, or I don't think I am. Is what I felt early on. I folded. I do it now, and I'm gonna tell you why. Not for the living and the income, though I will say it has helped. I do it because I realized there are some people out there, and some are probably listening to this podcast now, that they're alone.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have a box. They're in the garage, or they have to go to several boxes, several gyms, but they are alone. And so I started realizing that a phone call, a Skype, a video analysis, a written description of what I think they should be doing does help these people, man. So if it does help and they are willing to hire me for it, that's why I said I'll do it. I'll do it, and I've got about 32 of them.
I think the same thing goes for our remote program in the way of CrossFit as well. We've talked about that in the past, and we'll have people, we get people that will email us that have not even taken a CrossFit class that say, I want to go to the games.
Well, yeah.
I've seen it on ESPN and I want to go to the games.
Yeah.
And my first, my coach's hat says, dude, you need a training base. You need to go to your closest affiliate, regardless of how shitty you think they are. Mm-hmm. And you need to be a client for 2 years.
Yeah.
And email us once you've done some benchmarks and once you have a CrossFit solid training base, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
But my business owner hat says, okay, let's set you up with testing. Here's your first 60-minute row, and tell us what your back squat.
Well, the truth is some people are alone, but on the other hand, that person that you're like, I feel bad taking his money, he needs a base, he's just going to pay someone else, and they're not going to do as good a job.
They're going to get it from somewhere.
There's a lot of people doing remote programming that really are doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you might as well, help that person out.
Exactly.
That's how I got into it.
And look, in a lot of instances, I think there's people who just want to be associated with a proven brand. For you guys, someone wants to be close to Mattie, and whether or not that is proven to get somebody better, if they feel like it's going to make them better to be coached by Mattie's coach, if they buy into that, that's fucking good for them.
Yeah. And they will.
Yeah,
they will.
And they will if they're all in. It's the blue shirts.
It's the blue shirts add to your
It's
snap.
the blue. I know it is. I know. But it's funny you say that, because I was asked recently, Coach, do you take on beginners remotely? And that I'll say I can't. I can't, because I can't teach progressions over the phone on that. This is different. I'm a specialist in that regard. So I do tell people, listen, you have to find, nothing will be, eyes on you, especially there. So you have to learn from somebody, or come to me face to face, right? Come, and I will give you floor time and I will teach you. But if I can't do that, find someone locally to you to just get that base. But then you gotta take them. So other than that, I do, just like you, I accept almost everybody. It's cool when I kind of flatter and you get the question, hey, I'm very interested in training out. Will I qualify? Or do I mean? I'm thinking I don't have tryouts, man. I don't say no. Well, I just it's assumed that I only take on elite. I don't have that many elites.
Yeah, none of us do. Elites, first of all, 90% of the time don't want to or can't pay.
Yeah.
So we can't make our business just taking on elites. Elites don't pay and require way more time and our bandwidth on many levels, not just on program design. They need emotional support. You know, we need to write their programs, handle them at events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
The events.
Yeah.
That right there.
Especially for an elite in weightlifting. CrossFit, you know, we have an opportunity. We have the largest, might eclipse the CrossFit Games eventually. Wadapalooza's in our backyard.
Yeah, right around the corner.
Easy home run. For you got to go to fucking Colombia and Turkey and...
Ever in Europe,
and you get to do the open at home in CrossFit. So you don't got to travel for that. It's nice.
Yeah, and if I may, man, let me jump into the conversation we started right before this podcast. You know, I'm not going to try. I want to control this, but I just want to drop it in there if you want to explore it. People don't know the lives coaches have to live, man.
Yeah.
You have people going to the AO finals, and I met a couple of them yesterday while I'm visiting here doing this cert. And you're not going.
No, Lewis
right?
is.
Yeah, Lewis, another coach is going, which is great because you know he spends a lot of time with these athletes, so it's not like you're not sure your absence is not shortchanging these athletes, but you want to, but there's costs involved. I mean, it's not cheap. I once did the math on a couple of years ago when now it's a little bit different. Where out of pocket I spent $5,000 in 1 year because I have to go to the junior nationals, the senior nationals, the youth. The AO, and now with this series, thanks to USAW, there's 3 more national events I got to attend potentially. Man, that's money out of the pocket. And these athletes, other coaches, when they get involved, don't know. You want a big program, you're going to be wanted and needed everywhere, but you can't afford it all the time.
I mean, look, when we won our regional 2 years ago in Atlanta, and we went to the CrossFit Games.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
That was cool to see.
I just paid off that debt.
Oh, jeez.
For me, our entire coaching staff, and our team contributed a lot as well. But it took me almost 2.5 years, about 2 years, to completely pay off that debt.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, we had our entire team in California for a week and a half.
Yeah.
We flew all of our coaches out there. We tried to stay as close to the venue as possible. We tried to eat well, got therapy,
save money,
tried to get them outfitted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and you those are costs you have to.
You have to. And
you have to.
Going beyond that, people don't realize the time. Time is a cost as well.
Yeah.
Those events take time away from your family. It takes time away from
work.
The other work you have to be doing, and then it piles on. Yeah.
The other athletes that wish they were there, they're wondering when to come back to train them so they can be there.
Yeah.
The stress and the things the lives that we live. I mean, I think a lot of coaches get into it and they're not ready, man.
Yeah.
They don't know. I mean, I've met coaches who say to me, I'm not going to go to this event. I'm not going to encourage my athlete to go to this meet because they're not going to win. I predict they're not going to win.
No,
so we're not going to go. I'm like, okay, well, we can't keep talking.
Yeah. Your athlete will never win if you don't develop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great point to say. Or, hey, I'm not going to go to this competition, nationals. I really wish I could go. I got to find another coach to step in for me. Why? Because I only have one. And you prepare that athlete. You commit to going and have somebody else coach for them. Because, and if you can't afford it, that's a different story, but that's not what's coming out. I'm not going to go to this meet if I only have one athlete. What, you need 10 to justify your presence? I have taken athletes and been gone for 4 or 5 days for one athlete that doesn't even get close to medaling, but you're a coach, they're an athlete, they depend on you, and look, I mean, just like the athletes need the experience, coaches need the experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, this brings us to, we've talked about her many times on this podcast before.
Everybody talks about her.
Everybody talks about her. Everybody talks about her in this gym. To you, I'm sure you hear an earful. I know a lot about Mattie, but I don't think a lot of people listening do. Can you tell us a little bit about her development? Her development is not quite the same story as someone who would be #1 ranked in a large country like the United States in the sport of weightlifting. She didn't grow up with a barbell, right?
I was about to say, she was not always specialized.
Yeah.
I've spoken about this, the growth of the sport, the athlete pool, performances are better. Back in the day, your weightlifting champions, your medalists here in the United States, you knew that. You knew they were going to win it. Mm-hmm. You knew who they were. You knew all about them, and you were prepared for it before they even showed up. Now you can go to nationals and someone wins a medal that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Where did they come from? that's the growth.
They came from Instagram.
Yeah,
they're all born on Instagram, dude.
Or out of garages, whatever. So her development. Listen, we both jokingly refer to the stress, the ups and downs that we've had. A lot of athletes out there right now, probably listening to this, some may really not know. They see the glory, they see the end results, and I've been blessed. Mattie's been really, she's earned those. Has great accolades, but those are short moments, man. You know, it's been a lot of work. So I've had her since she was 16. She walked.
She came in a cheerleader, right?
She was a cheerleader gymnast combo, and was great at it. In fact, her cheer coach was a client of mine.
Right, CrossFit client, right?
CrossFit client, and he got into some local competitions, CrossFit competitions. And he says, "Listen, I have a girl. She's in my cheer. She's one of my better. She performs some of our best stunts. In choreography, she does things that are usually reserved for the males. And she's a hard worker, and she just has a good work capacity, man. She'd be great for CrossFit. Bring her in, all right?" And so he did. She walks in. First day, taught her how to snatch. She picked it up pretty fast. She ends up doing a short Metcon. I couldn't remember what it was, but she whooped the ass of a bunch of guys I had. And I was like, just like my coach, come back tomorrow.
Please.
Please. So, you know, I saw the talent right away, but, you know, she was, you know, very slender, and, you know, weightlifting, you foresee, you got to stack some weight on you, that kind of thing. But she fell in love with CrossFit too, because it was really hard, and she is an athlete, so she likes the challenges. She'll rise as much as possible to any challenge, and so she started coming in classes, not competitive yet, just in classes. And then, of course, that turned into competitive. Hey, you should do one of these local Saturday throwdowns, and she started to place. She was so in love with CrossFit. That's all I want to do. I was waiting for the right barbell introduction. Because I saw it, but I also saw that, you know, any athlete, you're not going to push them to do something that they don't want to do. You know, especially not her. That's her personality. She will do what she feels is best for her, and that's not a shitty thing. That's the proper thing to do. I mean,
it's a good sign of like an intuitive athlete
absolutely.
That you can trust. They're not all like that.
No, they're not. I know they're not all like that. Or, you know, especially that they're very aware, very realistic. Right? Mm-hmm. And so I knew that with the wrong push, she would get turned off by it. I mean, USA Weightlifting and the culture of weightlifting, even back then, pushing and promoting the sport of weightlifting, the way that we did it just turned people off. So nobody would. And so she knew of it, and, you know, she would do the lifts in Metcon. She would do it as a strength component, but not really get involved yet with the sport. She earned an invite to what was then the
Teen Gauntlet.
Teen Varsity Gauntlet. It was called the Varsity Gauntlet at the CrossFit Games. Maybe the second year that they've done it.
That's what we know now as the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
Team.
That was the
competition.
That was the
team division.
Yep. The teenage division now.
I feel like so few people. Like, I don't even know if you two guys in the room know about this.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Not many people. You're right. Not many people. That conversation, that question, doesn't get asked much. But she gets a call. Actually, I got the email. Right. I mean, I don't know if that was an etiquette thing or what. Which again was
probably affiliate owner. She was attached to the affiliate on the Open.
Yep. And then I was the owner and the head coach. You know, etiquette says, anyways, man, you got something to say to an athlete, go to the coach. Right. But she.
CrossFit don't play that.
Now they. Again, man, back in the day. So I get an email, and it says from CrossFit, based on Mattie Rogers' performance in the Open. This was maybe the second or third year that they did the Open online. Because before there was a sectionals. I judged, I refereed.
That's where I met him.
At the sectionals 2009. BGI. CrossFit sectionals. And that was really long judging and stressful doing that. But that was still part of my learning that I was describing earlier. Anyway, she gets an invite. We're doing something called the Teen Gauntlet, or the Varsity Gauntlet. We're bringing out, we're identifying teenagers that did the Open based on performances, invite only to compete at the games. And I go, we'll be there. I'm answering for her and her parents. So I told her about it. Of course, she got excited. Mom agreed. She was, underage. She had to do the right signatures and parent guardian stuff. And what was really funny about this story was I got calls from some of my colleagues, other gym owners in Orlando around the games time before, you know, maybe even the year before. Hey, you gonna go out to the games? I'm like, absolutely not. Why not? You wanna go watch? I go, no, I'm a coach. So I was half bullshitting, you know, half serious, saying, I want to go to the games for the very first time to work. I want to go as a spectator. I don't know if that was cocky. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just saying that was a goal. Right? Yeah. Hey, but you know, when I said it, it was more of describing an aspiration.
Right.
I want to coach at the games, right? Now, if it would have never happened, I probably would have eventually just bought a ticket, go and watch. Because, of course, we're all interested. You want to see that live, you know?
Yeah.
I actually learned a lot watching some of those elite CrossFitters move about, you know, pacing. And I brought that observation back as a CrossFit coach, you know, but that's a goal. I want to coach at the games so bad. I want to wait as long as possible to actually take someone there, and that'd be the first time I go. So it was, you know, it was half joking, half serious, but it was just describing my goals. We all have them, right? And so a couple months later, I get that email. So I call my buddy back and I go, hey man, I decided to go to the games. He's like, great, we're gonna go out, we're gonna party, we're gonna go watch. I go, I'm gonna be coaching. He goes, you're an asshole. We went. I took Mattie out there, and it was one day. It was the Sunday of the games. We spent the first 2 days. We did some light training, did some sightseeing. We watched games competitors. She was dying to get at the events. It was 3 WODs. WOD 2 was max squat clean, no jerk. I think we had that one. I was pretty confident about that one.
At that time, she already started weightlifting kind of sort of full-time with a little bit of CrossFit still sprinkled in, right?
It was the other way around, actually.
Yeah.
She was still full-time CrossFit, maybe a little lifting, like one local weightlifting meet, right? She had 0 interest at this time of becoming a weightlifter.
Okay.
Now you get the call for the games, the last thing you want to think about is ever becoming a weightlifter.
Right.
In fact, when we got home, she says, I want to go to the real games eventually.
Well, she won, right?
And that's what I was going to end with. We do WOD 1, WOD 2. We did really well there. She did not win the first one, won the second. The third, won it, enough points, and she's a team champion. So Mattie Rogers, but it wasn't officially the team CrossFit Games. It was this varsity gauntlet trial thing they were doing, but she won it. I can't remember how many girls she competed against, and I think there was only one age division. I don't remember if there were 2 like there are now. Right? There's 2 now. There's 14 and 15.
Oh no, there's way more than 2. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but she won it. We came to. Yeah. And I think it's like 16, 17, right? 14, 15. So she, but she won it, man. And I remember she won it. She got her podium. She got her medal and small prizes, and we ran over to watch the final WOD of the CrossFit Games, and just happened to catch the last heat of it, which was exciting. So it was a wonderful experience. We came home, Metcon, all she wants to do is Metcon. I'm like, I just need to get you stronger. And she'd already had some talent there. How I eventually got her, and it was her choice, so it's not that I got her to, was she saw me get a group of kids ready for junior nationals. We got the gear, we got the blue shirts, Lewis. We're looking, preparing, and she was watching on her CrossFit side us get prepared, and she says, what's this? What's this you guys doing? I go, it's weightlifting stuff, you're not really worried about this, huh? I turn my back on her shit on purpose, I'm totally just trying to get her on the right frame of mind. I was hoping she's like, that seems cool, maybe I'll do a meet. I'm like, yes. So I get into it. I think the first local meet she did, she bombed out and snatched. She comes back, she goes, is that good? I go, yeah, that's great. You're doing fine, Let's go PR clean and jerk. Well, she really liked the movement. She loved the challenge of the technique. She was a former gymnast, cheerleader. So, she got hooked on that. And we took her to qualify, went to a different junior nationals about a year later. After she saw the method at which I prepared the team, she joins and does it. Still CrossFitting. But you started seeing the shift of now she's not doing 90% CrossFit, 10% weightlifting. It's about a 50-50. And we go to junior national. She had a wonderful performance. She medaled. Come back home. They put out a ranking. And she is #1 alternate. Yeah, on a junior Pan Am team. Now, Pan Am's then we're going to host it here on the United States in Reno. So she says to me, oh man, look at this ranking. I mean, I showed it to her. She's like, wow, my name's on there. I'm like, yeah, your name's on there, mind you, I know the athlete I have in my hands, okay? And you know, there's some athletes that they're going to be good no matter where they go. And I think it's still important for the coach to play a vital role in developing.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing sadder than seeing talent go to waste because the athlete did not, or the coach did not develop the athlete. Having said that, and I just posted about this recently, even though a coach is extremely important, I still think athletes need to take ownership of their career. They need to take ownership and responsibility for the things the coach can only go so far with. And that's why I think Mattie's set apart from a lot is she takes a huge responsibility with her own career and calls a lot more shots than she did at the beginning because she didn't know. Now she does, and she's very intuitive, like you said, and she's she's very disciplined, but is very aware of what she needs. So I program her, and she consults with me a lot, but she does drive a lot of her current decisions in training. That's because she knows what she needs. And at that level, you have to let the athlete take some more control. Well, we got back, and she says, all right, what does it mean to be this alternate? I go, it means they consider you an alternate, but that means you stay home, you don't compete. How can I get on there? I go, I'm glad you asked. I already have it worked out. Look, you need to hit this, you need that. I go, this week. And she's like, let's do it. I go, thank God. She went. She had a great performance again, the final qualifier for this Pan Am team, and jumped to the #1 spot. That I didn't predict. I really thought that other girls would actually be somewhere 5th or 4th and actually just be on the team, but she jumped to the #1 spot. She was one of those people that probably surprised other coaches going, where the hell did she come from? And that was it, man. We came back home. She says, I want to go to the Olympic Games.
Wow.
So what about the CrossFit Games? What about that, huh? She goes, maybe after I'm done with weightlifting, I'll try for that original goal, she said. I think if she retires from weightlifting now, I don't think she'll go back to CrossFit. And she doesn't do much at all. In fact, some Metcons we do is really just in our off time, on our downtime, where we're not focusing on the specialization of the barbell.
Changed a lot is USA Weightlifting is how you earn money. So it's not how it was 3-4 years ago where you just
money.
So she has to stay in good weightlifting shape all year round. You can't take the same quad approach or take a year off. She only needs to be in shape, in her best physical shape once every 4 years or whatever. She needs to compete often to keep her stipend and to keep her position. Yeah,
and she is
actually get paid, but get paid well.
They do, I mean, I don't. I'm not speaking for her, but there's some stipends that are $2,000 to $2,500 a month.
It's good.
That you're getting. That's a job, and with
that plus sponsorships.
Her sponsors take care of her. At the beginning, sponsors were just giving free stuff. Now they're writing bonus checks. And she's got her own home. She rents a home, and she's got her own car. She got her own thing going, and she does do lessons and she does coach as well because she purely loves that too, especially the young ones. She's got a group of young athletes. They're all little Mattie Rogers running around, and I love it. I love it when she bitches and whines about them whining and crying. I look at her every time and she goes, "Don't look at me like that." I go, "Full circle, baby."
Yeah, for sure.
Full circle.
So, Mattie is competing at Worlds.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm nervous.
That's in California.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm nervous in a good way. I'm excited. We had the approach of really only putting her at her peak, one time this year, and that's now, right? I'm not saying she wasn't trying throughout the year, because like you said, man, she hasn't maintained stipend money, but we were in a very lucky spot that we can go to other national events this year, or, Pan Ams, we did push a little bit of Pan Ams for sure, but we were at other events, and you don't have to go all out 100%. Mm-hmm. You can go, and you can push in other areas. You can have different goals.
Go 6 for 6.
Just for 6 for 6 only. Powers.
Win a clean jerk medal, power, yeah.
We went to universities with the intent of powering only. She hits 3rd attempt. We're going for powers only. It turned out to be a full, good lift. I said no lift. She comes off, and I go, that's not going to count for us. But, I mean, for the record, it counted, right? So it was a joke, on a team about that. But, we're in a lucky spot to be able to do that. Maybe fans of the sport or other coaches might look at that and criticize and be like, oh, man, she's not doing any PRs. I know, because that's by design.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have her go all out every single meet if you don't have to. Let's save it for the long term, I want her to survive 2020 and 2024. She's 22 years old. Like, she's got 2 more quads in her if she does it right. And so you got to think long term. Look, athletes, and she's one of the blessed ones, or one of the smart ones. Most athletes can't see the week in front of them, man. You know, it takes the coaches to see the months ahead, the years ahead, and plan accordingly. So, world is coming up. We're fired up. There are a lot of countries not showing up. We know about that, and that's giving the United States an opportunity, to showcase the talent that we have. And we had hoped that would put Mattie in medal contention based on the start list I've seen. It's still a possibility, but
she's close.
She's close. She's close. It was a little further than what we were hoping before the start list came out. Because listen, certain countries getting banned automatically. You're like, sweet, I got to change the medal. And some of those countries are some of our top players. And so, without saying anything, the hope, sitting around with our fingers crossed, could we medal? Could we win? I mean, that conversation was a realistic conversation. The start list is out now. I don't know if they've posted it, but
they have.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. We, the coaches that are going to be behind the scenes at the Worlds, were given the start list a little early, as some inside information as part of our preparation. So it doesn't look like on the start list alone that we're going to guarantee the medal. We're going to have to really, really work for it, but it is still a possibility. We're hitting numbers right now in the gym, and some of her own goals, she's going to have to be pushed to PR weight, could and should win some medal. We don't know either event or even the total.
This is definitely I'm the most excited I've been to watch. I've seen Mattie compete at every national or international meet, every live stream that I can find. I always have. But sometimes, I talk to Danny, I'm like, what's the plan for her? And without getting into too much detail, he shares some stuff with me, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
I lie about others.
But I'm for sure most excited about this, because I don't think, besides Olympic trials last year, which happened very quickly, and I don't think you were as prepared for it, because you didn't prepare for that quad.
I didn't. I mean, we prepared for the meet.
Yeah, but you prepared for this.
Long-term quad-wise.
No, we got in. I knew she was going to be great. I didn't know she'd be a champion.
Yeah, but that was not the Olympics that was realistic for Mattie on her training plan. It's 20 and 24, right?
Correct. With 2024 is long-term, when she came back from, earning a spot at her first international meet, I'd love to go to the Olympics one day. Everyone says that. Everyone feels that way. And I said to her, look, let's just be Team USA for right now. Let's just do other stuff for right now. And she never got ahead of herself again. She inspired. I mean, you have to have that somewhere in the back of your mind. And then and there, I said, if I'm holding on to a future Olympian right now, 2020.
Yeah.
Not last year, not 2016. But as she got better and better.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And as I started seeing competition, the rankings were changing. We're making every international meet. She's holding on to the #1 spot.
And there were no doping sanctions at the time either.
Not the doping sanctions that we're seeing now. And I go, this might work. And we had the spot for the Olympics for about 5 months. Mm-hmm. After one of the trials, she was the #2 girl, right? #3 technically. And I was like, we just got to hold on to the spot. That's all we got to do. So we went into the Olympic trials last year ahead of Rio to not earn it but to hold it, and and we got beat out, and that's just she broke a national record, so it wasn't,
she did great.
She did great. It was not her performance. It just we got beat out. I mean, what are you gonna do? There's nothing to blame. It's not like if she had a horrible performance, you can say we just had a really bad day. It didn't work out, but she had a great day, and the other competitors. Morgan Keane stepped up, did the lifts she had to do, which pushed the shit out of us, and we were left with a lift. Mattie has never even loaded on a barbell. Yeah, that cleaner. It was so.
What was that?
141. 141. We will see it at some point. But at the time, she wasn't ready for that. It was just too early for that lift. And he was great. Demetria, they kind of had. I hope she doesn't get embarrassed that I say this, but we were in the back, getting ready for the clean and jerks. We did our first attempt, and we knew the final digit of 141 early. We knew, we saw it, we knew we were about done. Okay, No way I can give up. No way she was going to give up. So for the second or third attempt, in fact, I was going to put 141 on the first attempt, dude, and just take 3 shots at it. I mean, what? Nothing else mattered. But she turns to me, and this is what I was just embarrassed about. She turns to me, she goes, I want to start something lower, something reasonable. What we would have originally started. And I go, hey, what do you want to do? That's not going to really help you out. You know that we're here to make the Olympic team. And she says, I'll try it. But on the first one, let me get something in. If I get X in, I will win the national championship, because it was kind of a dual thing. I could probably win the Sinclair, which, you know, to be the best lifter there at the Olympic trials is, you know, that's prestigious. And she says, if I don't make that I need, at least I walk away with something. Let me go home with something. And I go, how do you say no to that?
Yeah.
Right? How do you say no to that? Plus, it's not my career, it's hers. So I said, you got it. So she opened up with something, smokes it, crowd's going crazy. They don't know.
130, 135, 141.
No, we had to go 125 or something like that. Right? It was in the 20s. I know to lock in something. Second attempt was the same concept. Please let me get the second attempt. It's not what I need for the Olympic team, but it's something that will give me X, Y, and Z. And you know, and ultimately, I wanted her to walk away as proud as possible, right? So then we had to jump like 10 kilos to that 141. He gets loaded up on the bar. Everyone is looking. I know deep down, I'm thinking, there's no friggin' way, man. You know, we're gonna try it. She's gonna.
Dude, how many times have you thought that watching?
Yeah, man. You got to. Sorry, athletes. Sorry. Sometimes
we talked about this today with that. We use the same rule in meets. You know, like you make we'll call the first 2 attempts.
You do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And there's so many times where they call an attempt, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
There's no way.
You're not gonna do it. This is beyond their reach, you know. But listen, man, we put it on the barbell. She went out there, and I know even though deep down in her soul she knows it's out of reach, she wanted to get it on the barbell. I mean, she wanted to put it in her hands and at least get it off the ground. And she went out, as soon as she lifted it, she ended up clarking it, and you know, tears, and they were justifiable tears, and that was, you know, rough. I said a minute ago, nobody knows the lives we live. That's one of them. I played counselor.
So many tears.
So much
So many tears. And look, those were ones that were justified.
Yeah.
100%. And you know, it's funny, we were so surprised that walking away from that, we had more support than you would think. So many people, you realize then how many people were in your corner, because nobody would talk to us, right, going into it. We were so focused and we were in game mode, but coming out of that, having gotten beat out and moving down a ranking and not making the Olympic team, gosh, the amount of support, the amount of coaches and other athletes coming up to us definitely made her feel better, made me feel better. We got home and she says, all right, I'm going to start 2024 now. Or 2020 now. And I'm like, honey, I've got some time off. So.
Dude, that's hard to find. I mean, you talk about your own experience coming up as an athlete. It's hard to find coaches that will tell an athlete that, because, dude, speaking from experience, when I get an athlete that is that motivated and pumped up, it's hard to tell them, no, we gotta wait.
Yeah, they can't see it.
So it's really hard to do.
Very, very hard to do.
It's very easy to push that person. All right, let's go. 2020 training starts Monday.
Yeah.
And are they going to make the 4 years? Probably not. You know.
Well, there's a very fine line, like I said previously, from like overreaching to like having an athlete be hungry. You've got to toe that line very, very, very closely to make sure that your athlete stays focused, motivated, and fresh and ready. You want your athlete hungry. You want someone coming in wanting to hit PRs every day. That's the want. Whether they know or they're well handled enough psychologically to know that that's not realistic and that's not part of their training plan is a different story.
Yeah. Some athletes get it. They see the big picture. They understand tomorrow doesn't matter. What matters is 4 years from now or 2 years, whatever it is, whatever your goal is. Some don't. Some you got to hold back and like they're always chomping at the bit. Yeah. That's the coach's job. But ideally, you have a coach that understands that and an athlete. It's really rare to get both together.
Yes, both together. You know, it's funny. I did have to force her at some time. I mean, she did go to Rio. You know, she participated as much as she was allowed to as an alternate. So she was present. She saw it. It was funny when at first she almost hesitated going. And I go, "What, are you crazy? You need to go." And she says, "Yeah, but to sit there and watch it when I should have been, lifting." I go, "Listen, I know the feeling, but you not going. If you were really it was a moment she had that." That thought, and I said, it may not mean much to you at your age, but it will mean a ton at mine. Go to Rio. And she did, and she enjoyed it, and she came back and she says, I just want to let you know that didn't motivate me anymore. I was already motivated to make it to, and I go, hey, I get it. But when we got back, she really wanted it.
Still have the Olympic experience.
Oh yeah, come on, invaluable. So she, I had to force her out, and we both joke sometimes. I literally had to throw her out of the gym, and but there's times where we have hit such hard training that she even asks for it. Can I not come in today? I go, yes, you can absolutely not come in today. And I trust her when she says it, she needs it, so I give it to her. I was trying to force someone to take time off recently. She overheard the conversation, laughed with me, and she's like, Danny, you want to know how you teach an athlete to take time off? I said, how, Mattie? You tell me. She goes, let him burn out.
Yeah.
Let him find out the hard way. That'll teach him. And I go, is that what happened to you? She goes, yes, sir. Yeah. I worry because from what I've heard, now remember, a lot of this is, nothing's official. A lot of it's rumor.
It's still fun to talk about.
Yeah, definitely, because you don't know what's going to happen in the end. They take away a male's weight class, and that's what you're talking. That's one of the things.
Right.
Take away both, not technically, because we're at 8 and 8, so you're not going to have it uneven like they did before, where you had 7 and 8 weight classes.
And the rumor is the B session too.
In the B session, so I haven't heard a whole lot about that, but I worry because it's already hard enough for the United States to qualify spots.
Yeah.
They're making it even harder. You're making, the percentage of our participants in the United States even smaller than what it already is to be at that level, right? And so I get scared. I get worried about that. Wasn't one of the rumors that weightlifting may not even be in the Olympics in 2020?
Yeah, they
I've
like
heard that.
threatened and made comments, I think.
Yeah, that might have been because of all the positive drug tests. Or
if they keep fucking curling and dart throwing.
What's the one where they
What's the
ski
speed
and
walking?
they shoot?
What's the speed walking?
Speed walking. You can't run, but you can't walk. You gotta kind of stay somewhere.
Push the
between.
pace, pal.
Yeah.
Jogging, right? If you will.
No.
No? Slower than jog?
Yeah, speed walking. I don't know.
Speed walking.
Alright, so JP's pulling up speed walking behind us. Let's see. Olympic speed walking rules. Race walking differs from running in that it requires the competitor to maintain contact with the ground at all times and requires the leading leg to be straightened as the foot makes contact with the ground.
I think that's the same rules for moonwalking. Right?
It must remain straightened until the leg passes under the body. What kind of judges do you need for a sport like that? That is absurd.
Speed it up. Slow it down.
Speed it up.
Nope.
That's just right. So if they have speed walking in the Olympics, let's hope that they make
4.5 miles an hour.
That's actually pretty fast, right?
Yeah, it's really fast.
So I don't know if you've listened to our podcast yet, but this typically is what happens.
So
We
far,
get
we just start
distracted.
talking
Squirrel.
Yeah, you're lucky we're not talking about John Candy or whatever.
Don't start me on John Candy. All right?
So, okay, so we touched base on that a little bit. That was a big rumor about the weightlifting.
I worry. What would that happen?
Taken out.
What would that do with popularity? Even am I going to have a job if Olympic weightlifting is no longer Olympic weightlifting, right? So I worry about that. However, I do remember a time in the past when every country, if the country itself earns people, everyone gets the same amount. So that could be what they end up with. So maybe it won't be harder for us to earn spots. Maybe.
The weight class thing could be good too if they do it correctly. I mean, look, speaking as someone who coaches a super, it's really weird seeing 105 plus, but every guy weighs 140.
Yeah.
That's like the average weight at a national or international meet for super is like 140. So.
And our super is very small on the international.
He's very small compared to those guys. Not actually small, just in comparison.
He is a large human.
Yeah. He's a large small.
So I mean, there is some places where they could, I think, fix those weight classes based off
that
the
super thing.
data.
I think is a no-brainer. Regardless of what happens, I think that's a good change to make.
Yeah. So I worry, but can't do anything about it, man.
A guy that's 118 competing with a guy that weighs 140.
Yeah.
On something like the clean and jerk. Anyway, so we touched base on that. What do you think about all these doping sanctions?
Here's how I feel about that, man, and that's a hot topic right now. people used to ask me, why isn't the United States more competitive internationally? My two reasons for years has been, one, it's not an even playing field. Two, athlete pool. We just don't have enough people doing it here. Both are changing, and it's about time. That's it. That's the best way that I can describe that. I mean, not only are we getting more and more athletes, I mean, you have the C.J. Cummings, Harrison Morrises that are coming out. I mean, you've got more and more, more records are being broken here in the United States. What does that tell you? That means we are raising the bar, once again, pun intended on that one too. We're getting better. So we're getting better, and I think they're becoming, there's more awareness about the doping that goes on internationally. And so we're getting better. That's coming down on the other side. I think we are showing that the United States, our American system, if you want to call it that, our system's not bad, man. We have some amazing coaches here in the United States. We have some really good, badass coaches. We no longer have to rely on the Europeans, or the Asians and what they're doing to help us out or make us better. We have great philosophies, great programs, great approaches, great coaches. We're just not dirty as a country. We just don't. Yes, people have gotten popped in the United States, but predominantly.
And we'll continue to get popped for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's going to happen. I guess I'm saying predominantly.
It's not a state-sponsored doping program. That's different.
Test our own frequently. Mattie Rogers was tested 8 times last year. One of them was dope. It was blood drawn, which we didn't expect, which is kind of cool. She actually prefers getting blood drawn. I go, why'd you do that? Why would you like that? She goes, peeing in front of somebody is just a pain in the ass. I go, well, I didn't think about that. So she just got tested last week. She's going to the World Championships. So USAW makes sure USADA jumps on, and I really don't know if they're testing all of the World Team members ahead of the Worlds or just some. I don't know. But she got pulled. She called me and said, hey, I'm going to be late to practice. I said, why? She says, USADA just showed up at my door, and I had just finished peeing. So I got to wait around. Okay, I'll see you when you get here. So I'm saying it's about time that the field is getting a little even. It won't be perfect for us. We're still going to have to push hard, but it's just opening up opportunities for us.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. You've heard it here for years. People say like, oh, the Chinese system is whatever, it works, or before that it was the Bulgarians and whatever. People get attached to these systems and they think like this country's figured it out or these coaches figured it out. And look, the truth is, if you're doping, it all works.
Yeah, it all works.
Every single style works. And you know what?
Not only that, but if you have a deep pool and you're going to middle schools and pulling kids out of middle school and
if you do have a huge pool, and you know what, you can run the Bulgarian system, crush them, and the 3 that make it through out of the 300 will be really good.
Yeah.
And we have coaches here in America that do Bulgarian style. We have coaches that follow the more Asian style or the Russian program. We have coaches from those backgrounds. There's no reason it wouldn't work here. The big difference there, I think, is the pool and the drugs.
And the drugs, that's it. Yeah. That's it. Make it even one way or the other, and you might see.
Besides the doping, I would look at state-sponsored weightlifting programs as well.
Yeah.
Which we are trying to do, but, we don't have weightlifting camps full of 150 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, they pull... Lewis and I, at the beginning of our coaching career, both had... a Cuban weightlifting coach and would tell us stories that in Cuba they would go to elementary schools and measure kids' thumbs and measure kids' finger lengths.
Hook grip.
Wow.
Yeah.
A long thumb. Okay, you'll be right.
And the state-sponsored swim coaches, baseball coaches, gymnastic coaches, weightlifting coaches, you would say, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, and I want that one. They go to their camps, and you're a weightlifter.
Yeah.
And you literally will have a pool of 156-year-olds.
With huge thumbs.
Bad thumbs.
To develop at your will.
Yeah.
You have that large a pool and doping.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't care if they break when you have 200 kids.
No.
Okay, we'll squat 8 times a week.
Sure.
No problem.
You have very little emotional
Give me the 6 that
and
survive.
family.
One that survive. Yeah, so USAW's trying. They're trying. They now have training sites.
Is that what we're agreeing on?
You're a training site too now, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I am too. Congrats, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're going to be doing monthly camps, clinics. I got to do the same thing.
What day did you pick?
January 7th.
Well, what day of the week?
We have Sundays.
Yeah,
Sundays.
We're Sunday.
Sundays. Listen, I will give the USAW that because I want to do so. I agree. However, it'll be best for me on a Sunday.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
No Saturdays. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that I've put out there.
We rolled all Sundays.
All Sundays. Next year.
Yeah, so we're good. So good luck with that. I hope it works out. I'm sure we'll be talking more and more about that. And that's it for me, man. Worlds going to be my next step. As soon as Worlds is done, I go into the AO finals, and I've got a large group there.
Cool. So, what are your future plans with your club? Oly Concepts,
just
the blue shirts, more
keep
blue
developing
shirts.
Blue shirts, more and more
shirts all over the country.
I'm just gonna hand them out, shit, for free at these meets. No, I've been asked that, and I love that question, but really the answer is just continue to produce athletes, and I hope they're more champions than not. But that's not up to me; that's up to the athletes. That's it. I don't plan on doing any more events. I do one a year. I'm happy with that. I don't plan on doing any more seminars. I'm happy to do seminars whenever I'm hired to do that. I don't think anything new other than continuously improve the athletes I have and new ones that come to me. That's it. Keep showing up at meets. So as long as I'm alive, I'm still there.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
You got anything that you want to plug before we finish up?
I don't, other than just the Instagram handle that I don't control. I have someone do that for me. Someone in-house, of course, someone that's heavily involved with my camp. That's Instagram's @Oly Concepts. My website www.olyconcepts.com. And that's the best way to get a hold of me, or at least just find out what we're about.
If people want to hit you up for training, they could find you there?
They can find me there directly through there, and then I have someone disseminate what messages go to who, and those about training come to me, and I always respond. I respond to every email.
You got to figure out if they qualify.
And if they want to make the cut for my
good
first
enough.
string.
Make the cut for a shirt.
For first string, otherwise they got second string.
Giant thumbs.
I asked them to photograph their thumbs.
Before we wrap up, one quick reminder for affiliate, barbell club, or CrossFit competitive program design. You can check out www.teamsoultraining.com. For the entire month of December, we're running a promotion where you sign up for 1 month and you get 1 month free of training on any 3 of those programs. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, boys.